All right, guys, we had a couple of shockers before the trade deadline. I want to talk about the one that involves Anthony Davis and the Washington Wizards. If you had Anthony Davis going to the Wizards on your chessboard coming into this trade deadline, you are a smarter man than I. But Anthony Davis gets traded to the Wizards in a multi-player deal that involves no real players of consequence besides Anthony Davis, and 2 first-round draft picks going to the Dallas Mavericks. The 2 first-round draft picks, Grant, not the greatest picks either. Like, everybody sees Golden State pick into the future, but it's a protected pick a few years from now. I looked at this as the Washington Wizards got a free player. They got Anthony Davis for nothing. What did you think?
Yeah, it was essentially a salary dump, right? Because they also attached D'Angelo Russell's contract. They attached Jaden Hardy.
Right.
It was a salary dump. Now, did they get some assets back? Yeah, I mean, listen, I love when people say, like, in the trade deadline, they want a first-round pick. There are so many levels to first-round picks. There's the unprotected variety, which is the best thing you can possibly get. Or there's the part where you're going to get a pick in the 20s that's essentially sometimes even worse than a pick in the low 30s because you now have to force a payment on a first-round value as opposed to a second-round value where you get to kind of be a little bit more creative. But let's say they got 5 back-end assets. Sure, that's actually okay for like trade value and stuff. If you ever want to throw something in and make something happen, that's fine. But really, essentially, this is a salary dump for the Dallas Mavericks. So what does this mean to me? What it means to me is they decided that the cloud, the dark cloud that was hanging over them and hanging over their Cooper Flagg era needed to just be removed.
Yeah.
Because to me, you have to ask, why didn't they wait to the offseason then, in this case? Maybe a team does say, hey, now Anthony Davis is healthy. Now I can just kind of think about my team, and maybe I can build something, and maybe they could have done that, potentially. Again, there's a risk. There is, right? What if the Wizards aren't there for you at that point?
Which they couldn't have been. Like, they couldn't have done those salary
exactly.
swaps.
No. So what they could have done instead is, if it was during the season, they could have taken back some bad money and probably get a little better assets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, they remove all the salary and say, let's start this era, the Cooper Flagg era. Now let's get a great pick. Let's get off of this and move on. It's not a win for anybody. No. It is just a...
Come on, that's a win for the Wizards.
Oh, no, sure.
all right.
Sure, but we don't know how it'll turn out, right? In a few years, we'll find out if it was a win for the Wizards.
I don't think the Wizards care. Like, I don't think the Wizards are looking at this team and saying, we got AD, Trae Young, young players. We're going to win the East next year. Yep. They're looking at this, and you know this from working in a front office. Like, they have so many young guys that have played horrible basketball, like with horrible teams over the last couple of years. Now they can put Bilal, Alex Sarr, whoever they get, when they're definitely keeping that top 8 protected pick, or they do everything they can. Whoever they get with that top 8 pick, and they can plant them with winning basketball. If AD's healthy, if Trae Young's healthy, you're probably a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. Like, they're looking at like 2028 is when they're going to be ready to take off. And they're hoping that these guys help them get there. Yeah,
and just quickly, also, if you think about it, look what the Nets did with Michael Porter Jr., right? They take him in, and then they just boost up his value so much. They could have moved him potentially. But it's the same world for the Wizards as well. Like, they hope that they can get a slightly motivated Anthony Davis, but again, you have to start wondering these questions.
I don't think he's motivated at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't think Anthony Davis is too enthused about being a Washington Wizard.
But you know what? How to dangle a carrot is to say, hey, do you want that extension coming up? Start being motivated, right? So again, I personally don't believe it's necessarily a win for anybody. I think in a few years we'll look back. Sometimes a deal happens and you're like, that's a win. That team, just no matter what's going to win off this one. This one to me is just like let's wait and see.
I like that the Wizards have become the home of the distressed asset, right? Like, they're just Trae Young, which you got for matching salary, and Corey Kispert. You just this trade where they don't really give up a meaningful first. They don't, the Thunder's 30th pick and another one that's going to convert to a second. You don't give up anything. You get Anthony Davis in there, and as long as they don't extend him, or like maybe 1 year, but even then I'm kind of hesitant. If you don't extend him, you, like you said, light a fire on him. Like, you want the extension, you got to play for that extension. We'll get you somewhere that'll extend you. And you start to look down the line, and like you said, you start to win a few games. Their guys start to play for something meaningful. The whole thing just feels better than it did. You can only be bad for so long before the fan base starts to turn on you, Utah. So like, they'd reached that point where they needed to do something. I think this was for what they did, I think this was great for the Wizards. I think this was not great, but it was a win for them because they didn't give up
nothing.
anything.
They gave up nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. What they did was take the bad salaries that the Mavericks didn't want anymore, to your point.
Yeah.
They also dressed up the draft picks. Like, you can say you got, like, what is it, 4 or 5 seconds were thrown in there. They can get 4 or 5 draft picks out of the deal, but they gave up nothing. They made it clear, obviously, from the opening moment of those talks, whenever they took place, that they weren't giving up any of their good young players, and they weren't giving up any of their good draft picks. But if you still want to do a deal, Dallas, here we are. This is my problem with the Mavericks, though. Like, this is just nothing. This is just, you got nothing for Anthony Davis. Your final haul for Luka Doncic, to bring it full circle, is basically 3 first-round draft picks. That's
and
the
Max
really
Christie.
And Max Christie, fine. Max Christie.
Hey, he's having a great season. I love Max Christie.
I love Max Christie too. Good player, but Max Christie.
3 firsts, 3 seconds.
Forget the seconds. I'm not jumping on the second train there. Okay, I'm sure that, every so often you get a second-round pick that hits, but they got 3 first-round picks, 2 of which are mediocre at best. One, like I don't know what the Laker picks are going to look like down the line. There might be 3 picks that are in the 20s for Luka Doncic at the end, and they do this deal. I understand it. There was no market for Anthony Davis for the trade deadline, none whatsoever. Not even a little. There was like no market. I don't think even the Wizards went into the week thinking, I'm going to go get Anthony Davis. I don't think that was on their minds. So you do this deal if you're Dallas, and you're just offloading this guy and saying, we got to wash our hands of everything that happened there. And that's tough, man. That's tough. I might have just brought him back and said, let's see if we can rehab your image in the first quarter of next season, and maybe we can get a better deal.
Okay, so I totally understand when you look at it at the accumulation of everything, right? You look at it with Luka was for this, right? But this isn't Nico Harrison making this move now, okay? And that's why I'm not going to connect the two. Now, I do understand the owner and everybody, and there's a lot of people that are associated with that trade, but like the people that eventually had to get out of this moment, right? The guys that are calling some of the shots there right now, they also just realized, like...
For now.
Yeah, no, we'll see how it turns out, but, they can't be thinking, oh, we better hold on to him and just in case because of what it's going to look like because of Luka. Like, at some point, you just got to say, God, this was a royal F-up, like a royal one. So how do we not save face? How do we salvage anything we can about this situation right now? Do you consider this a salvage? To some, no. But to others, you might say, hey, look... Maybe.
What does that pie chart look like? 99% of some no, 1% to others.
Like, would you rather take back bad money and get a good first?
No. If you want to clean your books up, which was obviously part of the case, then you did that. Mission accomplished.
This wasn't eat your vegetables trade, right? Like this wasn't good, but we want to do it so we can wipe the slate clean and we can spin. Now we can fully focus on building around Cooper Flagg. That is the spin, and to a degree, the reality, right? Like it's all Cooper now.
Can we also just really think about this, though? If that lottery ball didn't hit number 1 for Cooper Flagg, now envision that, right?
God.
The only reason
we're talking 12th pick or whatever it would have been.
Talk about how we're talking about salvaging the situation, right? If that lottery ball doesn't hit number 1, I don't even know how to even express how bad.
I don't think they could have traded him at that point.
I don't know.
If you couldn't have traded him for that package.
No, I don't think you can do anything at that point. No. So let's it's NBA. It's a fickle business. It's a fickle business. A year ago, you were in NBA Finals or whatever 2 years ago, and now it's a crazy business.
Anthony Davis and Trae Young are Washington Wizards. How about that?
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.